Canada is still furious at the Trump regime and the United States. Yes, that doesn't just go away overnight. And one of the things that we're seeing take place in a major symbolic middle finger to Donald Trump, King Charles will be giving a speech from the throne, the first speech from the throne since 1977 to actually happen in Ottawa is going to be taking place. Charles' trip will mark the first time a British monarch has delivered the so-called speech from the throne since 1977, a highly public show of support for Ottawa at a time when Donald Trump has continued to attack Canada, and this as Canada is strengthening its relationships with the European Union, with the UK, as Australia is getting in there as well, and the United States is getting more isolated by the day. You're seeing Canadian universities seeing an opportunity as well to take the brain drain away from the United States. And they're saying, to the government, let's get more money to try to attract the top professors. The United States is destroying their university system. Let's try to attract the best and the brightest here in Canada. And still a very scary moment for Canadians because you have hundreds of Canadian students are caught up in Donald Trump's recent attempt to treat all foreign students at Harvard University as basically undocumented migrants, which basically means, are you going to end up in South Sudan? Are you going to end up in a concentration camp in El Salvador? Are they going to send you back to Canada? But Canada has held its ground from day one. They've been the beacon to the rest of the world in the boycott against the Trump regime, boycotting all American products, boycotting American tourism, and they've really showed the way for Europe. They've showed the way for Australia and elsewhere. I mean, I think right now tourism is down from Europe to the United States by 25%. I think at least a $12.5 billion hit right now to the U.S. tourism industry, although I think the number is going to be significantly higher than that. And this was a year that the U.S. tourism industry was expecting a lot of money to come in. This was a year that they were really it's going to be a breakout tourism year in the United States. All that tourism from Canada now is going to Mexico and elsewhere, skipping right over the United States. One of the interesting things to see, though, is a bipartisan delegation of Democrats and Republicans, and a lot of people from border states like a MAGA Republican, Senator Kramer from North Dakota, going to Canada and basically saying, please buy American, please take us back, because this is really stinging. This is really hurting, and Canada is still pissed off and furious. And as long as Donald Trump is still in power and he's doing his thing, I don't view what these delegations are doing as having, any effect other than to basically show that the boycotts are working. Anyway, here's MAGA Republican Senator Kramer. Let's play this clip.
The reality is that Canada can go other places, but they're better off working with the United States. Here we are, neighbors. Your provinces are darn near like states in my part of the world. So I just think we all need to be talking. We need to be at the table. We need to be encouraging one another. And I truly believe that the healing has begun.
Is that a message you're confident you can get to the White House, that you can relay what happened here to the president and make an impact?
Well, you're certainly helping with that. But I think, the other day, like I said, I was in the Oval Office for the Golden Dome announcement, spent a lot of time with the president, both on, during the announcement and the news conference, as well as afterwards. He referenced Canada several times in that news conference as a partner, as somebody who's a country interested in participating in Golden Dome. It was done very respectfully. And I think with some affection, to be honest with you, I think some real enthusiasm. So, I think Donald Trump uses a lot of tactics and strategies.
A lot of What? The bottom line is that Donald Trump has to beg Canada for this $500 billion ridiculous golden dome because Canada's at the border. You can't do it without Canada. So can't you just see there this is the thing with Trump, what a weak position he puts the United States in, where you got MAGA Republicans going there and begging. The whole thing is typical Trump, weak loser. Let's bring in former member of parliament, Charlie Angus, who's on tour still. You're going out there, you're speaking to the various communities in Canada. And tell us, Charlie, people are still pissed in Canada, huh? This isn't just forgive and forget.
I love this idea that the healing has begun with what? Our prime minister went to Washington to meet with Donald Trump in what looked like some kind of, I don't know, cheesy bordello with gold lame, something he might have got from Putin. And when they asked about being us giving up our sovereignty, he said, never say never. Every Canadian knew what that meant, because this man is a convicted felon and a sexual predator. No means nothing to a sexual predator. So here's a guy telling us never say never about the future of our country. I've been in small towns across this country. On a Monday night, we will fill like the local theaters, like the whole town comes out. People are determined to defend our democracy right now. And I think what's really surprising or interesting is that, when we have the MAGA Republicans coming to Ottawa and saying, we all share things in common. Well, we share some things in common, but there's other things where we're fundamentally different. We are a democratic nation. We believe in the rule of law. The United States has allowed a man who attempted a coup to stay in power, who the Supreme Court says is above and beyond the rule of law. That's what an oligarch does. We were doing with my resistance team, we were sort of just trying to track how many times Donald Trump has said negative things about Vladimir Putin and how many negative things he said about Canada. It's about 100 to 1. His attacks on Canada, over 100. His attacks or his questioning of Putin, almost minimal. So we are not sharing any same values right now. So the idea that maybe some like the Dakotas, yeah, they're getting hammered. They're getting hammered because of the impact on cross-border ag trade. Well, that's not our problem. That's your problem. You deal with the felon in charge from Mar-a-Lago, and then we can talk about helping your farmers. But don't come across our border to our prime minister and say healing has begun. Healing begins when you start dealing with the criminal threat that's in Washington, that's threatening the rule of law in Canada and around the world.
Talk to us about this visit from the king, why it is a big deal. If I accurately described it as a middle finger to the United States, and if it's sending another message about an international alliance he's forming, isolating the United States.
Well, if a prime minister had invited a king over to Canada to read the speech from the throne, so the speech from the throne is it's the vision statement. When a new government comes in, when a government does a reset, when there's a budget, that speech is not delivered by the prime minister. It's delivered by the governor general, and we love our governor generals. They are the ones who represent the power of government in a symbolic sense, but technically they are the representative of the king. But we never talk about the king, the monarchy. Most Canadians are completely indifferent to it. So the idea that we're asking the king to come over to do this, if someone else had done this 3 years before, there'd be a huge outcry in the country. But the symbolism of this is hugely important right now, because what it's saying to the world is that Canada is part of the Commonwealth. Our allies in New Zealand, Australia, who are still part of the Commonwealth. We are looking much more now to the UK to start picking up their game, because I think the UK hasn't really done all that much. The EU, we just saw really important statements from Prime Minister Carney with President Macron and Prime Minister Starmer calling out Netanyahu on the genocide in Gaza. We would normally be going to Washington to talk about this. We're not. So the fact that the king is coming to open the new parliament is sending a message that we're recalibrating. We would normally not really want a king to come and hang out with us because we see ourselves as kind of post that. But it also, I think, a lot of Canadians are looking to it because they're saying to the UK, well, where are you guys? We were there on day one. You know, you guys were getting pulled off the beaches in Dunkirk. Canadian soldiers were defending your borders. We were there in the Battle of Britain. We were there through all the fights against the fascists. So this is a big symbol. And we also know how immature Donald is. He really likes this king stuff. So I think Prime Minister Carney's playing a smart role here. And most Canadians are going to say, right on, give this the thumbs up that the king is coming.
Finally, your message to Donald Trump. We've been at this now, Charlie, you and I, for the better part of since January, February. You and I had first met each other through the elections, and you and I have become friends through all of this. And I definitely owe a visit to Canada. I want to do some of that tour with you. So you and I are going to
lots of people are saying, hey, we want the Midas tour. Ordinary people, I'm going to rallies, are saying, when are the Midas crew coming? So you owe it to Canadians because they're watching and they love the fact that you guys are nailing the gangster regime, and that's what we're doing here in Canada.
Well, we'll definitely be there. Charlie, what's your message right now? We know Trump's team watches the Midas Touch Network. They clip it, they show it to him. What's your message to the Trump regime, Charlie Angus?
Well, Donald, when you've got a gangster regime that is so in line with what Vladimir Putin is doing, of course you hate us, because we are a country of the rule of law. We are a country of democracy, not a country that's going to support the rule of oligarchs over the common people. That's your rule, because that's the kind of criminal grifter that you are. But if you think that Canada is going to bend or break, it's never going to happen. I think our prime minister was dignified in dealing with you and that crappy gold lame bordello that you've set up and called it an Oval Office. You're not impressing anybody, Donald. You are looking cheaper and weaker all the time. And hey, we would welcome the boss any day and Taylor Swift to come to Canada, but we know they really belong in the United States because they are the best of America while you are the worst of America. But right now in Canada, we're feeling very strong. We know we are going to take a lot of hits in this coming fight, but we are a nation that is true. We are strong. We are North, and we are free, and we'll always be free. It doesn't matter what you and your grifter friends do, Donald. Keep coming. We will keep fighting. It's as simple as that.
Charlie Angus, former member of Parliament, leading the resistance tour, although I think it's the people leading it with you, as you like to say. It's a movement of the people of Canada. Thanks, Charlie Angus.
Thanks so much. Elbows up.
Elbows up. Everybody, let's get to 5 million subscribers.
Can't get enough.
Takedown. Double takedown. Double takedown.
Good job. Need equipment.
Head there.
Heading to supply point.
First doom.
Help me! Help me!
Double takedown.
Thanks.
First doom.
Help me! Thanks.
Double takedown.